So the stage is yours, Vinita. We look forward.
Lovely. So I understand you are the students of jewelry design. Is that right at IIG?
Yes.
All right, lovely. So I did receive a set of questions from Ashwin, but I am interested to know who these questions came from. So who would like to start? Did it come from you guys?
You can start.
Okay, so I'll read out the question, and if you're in the room, you can let me know who this question was from. My first question I received was that what inspires you to design for someone or the market? And if this came from any one of you, I definitely want to know who this came from. Do we have the person in the room?
Yeah, from me, ma'am. Shruti Agarwal.
Hi, Shruti, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
All well, thank you so much. So I have to start by saying that this is a great question. Primarily because if you look at jewelry, jewelry is a beautiful object. And I think it really comes to life when it is worn on a man or a woman. So from an inspiration point of view, I think it's very important to know your end customer. And I cannot stress this enough. Because jewelry eventually is worn on the body. So you need to know who is the person who's going to wear it. And for me, all inspiration starts from that. Knowing that, who is my customer? What is she looking for? Whatever I'm going to design, is it really going to complement her style statement or her aesthetics? Inspiration is everywhere. It can be from a travel that you've done. It can be a painting that you've seen. It can even come from a gemstone. But at the heart of it, if you're not able to build that connect between your inspiration and your end customer, it may not get invested in. It would be appreciated, of course, as an art piece. But if you're looking at it from a business point of view, you have to always know who the end customer is. For me, per se, I'm a very visual person. And most of my collections are inspired by the travels I've done or an art piece that I would have seen. But I'm also constantly thinking about my end customer, the man or the woman who's going to be wearing these pieces. If she's going to be able to appreciate it, is it something she or he will be able to confidently carry? So I would always say it has to be a mix between your end customer's aesthetics and your aesthetics as a designer. So that is what inspires me when I'm working on my design collection. So Shruti, did I answer your question or did you have any other questions?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
You're most welcome. The second question I received was, what work ethics or process you follow when you design something? Anyone here who asked this?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, what's your name?
I'm Rajiv.
Hi, Rajiv. Thank you so much for the question. So you asked me what is the process I follow when I design something. So I'll answer the process first and I'll go on the work ethics later. So of course, there is a method to all the madness. I think as creatives, we can get inspired by so many things. You'll come up with one idea today, and then by midday, you'll have another idea, and the next day you'll have another. So it's very important to channel your passion and your inspiration so that your products see the light of the day. Otherwise, you'll be just working on mood boards and concepts. So for me, what I do is if the very first step, like I said earlier, was knowing my end customer. What is my customer looking at in a few months down the line when we are looking at launching the collection? What would be the trends at that time? What would be the colors that are predicted or forecasted for that time? Can I use optimal material techniques, finishing techniques, certain kinds of gemstones, certain material finishes that will complement that story? So the first is the trend study. Second is my client board, which is the client that I'll be looking at. What kind of trade shows do I want to participate in with this collection? And then comes the word board, the mood board. I'm sure you all are also doing this, right? When you're developing your collection, you do create mood boards, I'm hoping, correct?
Yeah, we do.
Super. So please stick to that. It is not something that you should leave on the designer table when you are studying design. You should definitely take it forward into the industry This is what is going to keep your product unique. Otherwise, you're going to end up creating replicas or brothers and sisters of what is already existing in the market. And that's not going to give you your unique edge as a designer if you're looking at starting your own brand. So then it comes the concept board, the mood board, the first sketches. Now, the first sketches should be wild, I would say. Do not restrict yourself on, if this is technically possible, how heavy will it go? Your first sketches should truly be, you should just go crazy. You should just go creative with it. And then comes the refinement process where you are working with the product development team and you're working on the first samples. Then that's the time when you'll be looking at the ergonomic factor that, will it be comfortable when it's worn? Is it too heavy? Especially when we're talking about earrings, it has to be comfortable. There is a weight restriction that you have to be aware of. So then you work with the product development team to create your first sample. After the first sampling is done, you need to look at it that is it going to be just a one-off piece or is it supposed to be mass produced? If it has to be mass produced, are the stones that you have chosen, is it going to be easily available for sourcing? You have to look at it from a costing point of view as well and make sure that your end product is accessibly priced. It should not be too expensive that your target audience cannot invest in it practically. So that is the process in terms of product development. And then, of course, comes your product shoot, your marketing side of it. And especially now, if you're looking at e-commerce channel for your distribution, I think I cannot stress enough on how important quality product shoots and quality videography is important. So also your photography comes into play then, your marketing strategy in order to, have the whole story in place comes then. But in a sense, in a nutshell, this is the process of creating the collection. So it starts from knowing your customer, the mood board, design concept, and it ends with the final retail distribution. Now, in terms of work ethics, now for fair and sustainable trade practices is something that has always been at the brand core, and I cannot stress this enough. The materials that we choose, the labor practices we follow, all need to be ethical and sustainable, not just for ourselves, but for also our team and for the end consumer. So that's something that we do. I also believe in terms of jewelry design industry where we're going, I think made to order and semi-customizable designs or semi-personalizable designs is definitely going to be the way forward in terms of the sustainable practices of production. Our primary B2C channel is my website. So my e-shop on vinitamichael.com is my primary retail channel. You'll see that 75% of our designs are made to order. This also makes sure that we are allocating our resources optimally. So these are the two areas that I would want to focus on when it comes to ethical trade practices and the design process. So did I answer your question there?
Yeah. So as a part of CSR, what do you do?
So I do believe design education is a very big part of social responsibility, I think, and as an industry, we need to work on it together. So there are a lot of design workshops that we conduct every now and then. Most of these are complimentary, which is primarily to make the designers aware of what the innovative practices in the industry are. Something that I want to stress on especially, and I feel great to speak to you about this, is traditional Indian jewel craft techniques. I really feel that more focus should be put into that because unfortunately, it is an area that needs more patronage at this point. So I definitely feel as designers, we should work more on making sure that our traditional craftsmanship, our heritage is not lost while we are resorting to the technological advancement. Something like a fusion of technological developments and traditional craftsmanship would make sure that we are entering into a new phase while also protecting our past.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And the next question that I have is, what is the next step an Immature should take to start his or her own brand once they finish their design education? Can I know who this question comes from? It's a great question, by the way. Anyone here who asked that? Okay, so let's get to it. I'll just repeat it once more. What is the next step an immature should take to start his or her own brand once they finish their design education? Now, quality design education will give you such a head start when you start in the industry. Now, honestly, I mean, till date, I feel that my time that I spent, so I finished my jewelry design from the National Institute of Fashion Technology. That's where I did my bachelor's in design. My specialization was jewelry. And then I went to the Gemological Institute of America and US to pursue my gemology. And I really feel that gave me such a head start when I started my career 14 years ago. And I cannot stress on the importance of quality design education. But having said that, I think the next step for you, as soon as you finish your design studies, is definitely work experience. Because especially in our field, I think passion for jewelry and art is so important. However, if you're looking at it as a business, passion is not enough. You need to have a technical understanding. You need to have a knowledge about your customer, the marketing channels that are available to use, how to use it, how to make your product well distributed, how to price it right, if you want to keep it sustainable. And that you cannot truly understand unless you're on the job. And it may not be possible for all of us to immediately start our brand and make all the mistakes that we are bound to make initially when product designing and executing it. So it's always good to have a team of mentors to support you, to guide you, which can only come about when you're working in the industry. So I always like to say that a design school teaches you how to design. But when working, it teaches you the business of design, and that's very important when you start your brand. I remember when I was working, and this is immediately after I finished my NIFT, and I was very fortunate to get placed in some really good design brands in India, my favorite being the Amrapali Jewels of Jaipur. And I can tell you the amount I learned on the job in that 6 months of internship was, I would say, equivalent to what I had learned in my design school in 4 years, because you're really on the job morning to night and you are facing real life challenges and you're solving them and you're seeing is your product actually seeing the light of day? If it's not, then what can I do differently? And that is a great experience. Another advice that I would tell you is that when you go into the industry and when you are working either as a design intern or as a designer, be open to giving it your all. And if you're fortunate to be in a company which allows you to venture into other areas as well besides design, then that is really a blessing. Some bigger companies may not let you do anything besides design. Like for me, for example, when I was working, while always product design and product development was my core responsibility, I was also very fortunate to work with other teams, right from sales representation at trade shows to closing deals with VIP B2C clients, to being on the product shoots, to drafting press releases for the company, to giving interviews for the company on behalf of the brand. It really gives you a 360-degree perspective on how things work. And I can confidently say that years later, when I started my own brand, it had given me a wider perspective and it made me a more confident creative on what are the things that I have to keep in mind when I'm taking this step forward. Yeah. So I hope I answered that question. Anyone who would like to ask anything related to this? All right, super. So moving on. Okay, I have to say this one is my favorite question of the lot. For instance, I started my jewelry brand, but due to overall expenses, my products are priced high. In that situation, how can I get customer loyalty? Or how can I convince them to buy from me? Can I know who asked this? Do we have the person in the room?
Ma'am, it's me, Shruti.
Hi, Shruti. You've asked some great questions, yeah?
Yeah, most of the questions are from me, ma'am.
Super. So I see an upcoming designer brand in the making. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Not a designer, but I want to become an auctioneer.
Super, super. All the best to you. And okay, so this is a great question, first of all, because I think I can tell you a lot of brands do not become, or may I say, give up because they don't think about the business side of it. I think our focus is always on creating these unique designer products that we usually don't tend to give the business side of it as much of importance as it honestly deserves. And I will start by saying that that cash flow, or having your product financially relevant is a truth that we as designers have to accept and embrace. It gives us a great opportunity, if you look at it, if you want to practice your passion for a living. If you want to just create one or two pieces for yourself to wear and enjoy, or you just want to create it as an artist and just have it, or if you're doing it as a side hustle, it's different. But if you're honestly looking at it as a sustainable business option, then you have to look at the cash flow side of it. Now, I am not very sure, Shruti, of what your product offering is, or what your unique selling point here is. So I can't really do a deep dive into this question, but at a high level, assuming it's one of the jewelry pieces that I would associate with a designer brand, my first suggestion to you would be to look at your OPEX, or your operation expenses, or your costs, to keep it simple. Have you really worked out the best or the most efficient costing structure, while obviously ensuring that you're paying yourself well, you're paying your team well, and you're also legally protected? If the answer is a confident yes, that you cannot have a better cost structure, then look at your product again and see, are you really speaking to your end customer, the customer that you have in mind? Going back to where I started, knowing your end customer is so important, because not everything that you create will resonate with everyone. There's a market for everything, and especially I would say when you're creating something truly unique, which may not be very common, then you have to be very certain that you're speaking to the right customer. If your storytelling is confident, if you are in the right retail channels, if you're in the right distribution network, if you are getting featured on the right celebrities or influencers, if you're in the right publications, and if it's honestly going to bring value to your end customer, then why will they not invest in it? That is my 2 cents. So you want to look at your OPEX and really be sure that you are costing it right. And secondly, you want to be confident that you are speaking to the right audience.
Ma'am, I have a question to ask on this.
This is Shruti again, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Shruti, please go ahead.
Ma'am, how do you balance two market altogether, like different segment of market in jewelry itself?
How to? Sorry,
Please, ma'am.
I didn't get that question. How to?
How do you balance between two markets?
Okay, so you have two different markets. You're saying that you have two completely different markets.
Yeah.
Then you need to have two different collections. Like, for example, for me, my primary offering is concept jewelry in sterling silver, crafted in sterling silver, like I said, and set with crystals from Swarovski. And this is on my website. And then on the other hand, I also have my premium 18 karat gold fine jewelry, which is set with diamonds and precious gemstone, which is for the bridal market. So obviously I cannot speak to the same market with two different products. You need to have two different collections for different markets.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I hope I answered your question there. If there's anything else you'd like to add at this point, Shruti?
No, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
You're most welcome. Now, today the customers are smarter and choosier. What criteria or factor we should consider to design more interactive products to attract them? Can I know who asked this?
It's me, Mridula.
Hi, Mridula, is it? Hi, Mridula. Thank you so much for this question. And 100%, I agree with you customers today are far more, I would say, well-traveled, they're more aware, they're more knowledgeable, they have a much more understanding of the choices they have. And absolutely 100% I agree with you. And personally, I see this as a great opportunity for young and upcoming brands. I mean, gone are the days when customers had their favorite jewelers and they would only go to them and trust them blindly and not even think twice about what was being told to them. It's not like that anymore. And this is why, like I said, it's a great opportunity for upcoming designers because everybody's open, especially right now, the digitally savvy customer, they are actually open to trying out new brands. What can you do? Number one, you want to make sure that your product is very, very strong. I think I cannot stress more on this. It really has to be unique, different from everything else while being functional and well priced. So that is the number one. Your product has to be strong because literally at the end of the day, the customer is walking away with your product, irrespective of all the story and everything else that surrounds it. It's the product that they walk away with. So that has to be very strong. But having said that, I also feel that the consumers today don't just invest in the product. They also invest in the story, the makers, the vision. They want to know why is it that you're doing something? Why are you innovating? What is it that you're bringing to the table that's different? And this is where I feel a strong and effective digital marketing campaign can be very helpful in order for you to communicate your story. So you should not be scared to come forward and share your story, what inspires you as a designer to create this. So, and in terms of a product, if you ask me in the last few years, what I have seen is that personalized jewelry has definitely gone up in popularity. Also, contemporary jewelry, which are kinetic or multi-wear jewelry, pieces that can open up and become different things. That is definitely gaining this huge momentum. Also, handcrafted jewelry is becoming increasingly popular. People want to see the age-old, jewelry craft. I think that's something the pandemic really gifted us, the value or the appreciation for art. We don't want the easy to make and the easy to dispose pieces. Of course, in jewelry, it's a little different because we are working with precious metal. But overall, I think the customer is a lot more responsible. They really want to invest in pieces that is honestly going to add some kind of value to them. So this would be my 2 cents, that you focus on pieces that can be easily worn, multi-wear pieces, which also have a strong story to them.
Okay.
Anything else?
And also, how do you present your own designing? When you design your own stuff, it's kind of we can't publish those designs. So how do you do it?
The process in itself.
As soon as you have completed your studies in NEF and also in GIF, so you might be feeling that I need to publish your own designs to the public where it get an awareness to the public, right? So how do you do that?
You mean to say that the designs which are not commercial, like if you're not a design student, if you're not a designer.
No, like after you complete your studies and later on, like when you design your own stuff. So how do you publish it in the public and get an awareness to the customers? Like, how do you do that?
Obviously, soon after I finished my studies, I was designing for other brands. And at that point, it would not be ethical to publish the designs saying that I have done it unless the brand wants to publish it, because I'm literally developing for them. So all the design credits need to go to them. I was only able to do this when I started my own brand as my own designs. And personally, I think that's very fair. When you are a designer for another brand, obviously you are representing that brand. So if the design also gets published, it has to be represented as the brand's IP. And I think that's fair. It's only when you start your own brand can you share designs that you have created for your own brand. Again, at this point, you should not share designs that you've created for other brands unless they have given you the permission to do so. Then it's different. So that's how it goes. And when you have your own brand, obviously the possibilities are endless. You can show your sketches to what worked, what did not work, etc., etc. Or when you are an established designer and you're doing a collaboration again with another brand where you're designing for another brand, My latest collaboration was actually with the Mask. If you go on my Instagram, you'll see a couple of videos with them. So there, the designing was mine, the production and distribution was theirs, but we both did the marketing. So in that case, obviously, but all this has to be clearly cited in your contract.
And also when you work under some brands, like how do you get to know their their taste, their kind of trendy jewelry, or their currently. So how do you get to know that? Like
A good brand will actually give you the first 3 months to
That
just
is-
understand their marketing, understand their market. A good brand. I remember in my initial working days, and I've worked at Ganjam as well in Bangalore. You're in Bangalore, right? IIG-Bengaluru, correct?
yeah.
So,
Yes.
and I remember when I was working with Ganjam, my initial 1 month was at their store, the flagship store. I can't recollect the name, the location, but it's their flagship store in Bangalore. And we were literally with the sales team, having conversations with the end customer when they're coming to the store. What are they liking? What pieces are they looking for? Sometimes they would come and they would ask that, do you have any bracelets with this stone? And then we would see that maybe there's not enough bracelets, or and then you would go back to your head office and give this report that today there was a client inquiry. I think we can work on this product category a little bit more. So you have to be client facing, and I really feel that designer's job is not restricted to the desk, because then you are just imagining, unless you are actually in front of the client, you are having those solid conversations. It'll be a little superficial. I think you need to have those interactions with clients. This is my suggestion. And I think every brand should actually put their new designers in their showroom for the first 2 months, if they really want the designers to create products which will really resonate with their with their end clients.
Okay.
Anything else you'd like to ask?
I'm also like, so how is the market in Turkish and German designs from nowadays?
Turkey, I've not worked with much, but German designs, as far as I've seen, it's a lot more contemporary, more towards white metal, either platinum, titanium, white gold. This is what my German clients ask from me, and it's a lot more like modernist. They're definitely very workwear related, very practical jewelry, I would say. So it's not very like heavy. It's a lot more practical. So they don't mind actually traditional craftsmanship, etc., as long as it's not heavy, as long as it can be worn easily on an everyday basis. So this is my understanding of the German market. And of course, the finishing has to be perfect. That way, I think the German and the Japanese market is very similar, that the finishing has to be perfect, even if it's
Okay. So they all depend on the workmanship a lot.
Yes, workmanship is very important. If it is handcrafted, you need to be able to communicate that this is handcrafted. And that's one thing I would say, that if a product is handcrafted, does not mean that it should not match up in terms of quality. It should still look premium. It has to. I mean, if you really look at the true handcrafted jewelry that comes from, Jaipur is my favorite, I would say, in terms of jewelry making. They really look fantastic. And I feel like the whole world should know more about them.
Nice.
So yeah, that was yours. I hope I answered that question for you. Okay, the next question is, design unique and get yourself famous, or design just to make money? Which one do you support and why? It's an interesting question. Can I know who asked this? Do we have the one in the room? So design unique to get famous, or design to make money? Which one do you support and why? So again, and this is my personal preference and coming from where I am as a business, I always feel that whatever you do, there has to be a sustainable angle to it. So cash flow is very, very important. Again, coming back to what I said earlier. And I'm not saying you should not create unique design. You should definitely create unique designs. But your unique designs should be able to support your business aspirations. And I follow here the 80%, 20% rule. So 20% of our designs are actually absolutely one of a kind, never seen before, creating unique concepts, which honestly have been a challenge for us as well to execute. And it really, like, sometimes we really wonder that, is it worth it spending 3, 4, 5 months on a piece like this, which may not be commercial? But here, the objective is to build the brand portfolio. And absolutely, I can tell you that most of the design awards or the features that we've received both locally and internationally is for this unique one-of-a-kind pieces. And some of the pieces I have not even kept it on sale. They're absolutely not for sale. They're just during exhibitions. We have it for display to show the fantastical and the endless possibilities of jewelry craftsmanship techniques. However, having said that, I will never do this unless I have a solid commercial strategy in place. So even if this piece itself doesn't sell, there has to be a collection with either the same concept or it's presented at the same time, which is definitely commercial and accessible. And I'll say something, I don't know how many of you follow this podcast, Business of Fashion by Imran Ahmed. If you don't, I would highly, highly suggest it that you do, or go on the website, Business of Fashion. It really gives you a good insight into not just the creative side of doing things, but also the business and the sustainable side of doing this as something that you want to do as a profession. And he said something which has stayed with me for quite some time. He said that business and creativity are interdependent. You need creativity in a business so that it can be, it can innovate, it can be relevant, it can grow, and you need business in order to keep the creativity sustainable. So I always feel that business and creativity are very interdependent, and you can't have one and not have the other. So that's what I feel. Any other questions related to this?
When do we learn more, if you work under a designer or a manufacturer?
When do you learn more? When you work under a designer and a manufacturer? I would say I have learned under both. If you're working under a designer, as long as the designer lets you have your own voice and lets you present your concepts with your own identity, it's fine. Otherwise, you will become an illustrator, I think. And so that's why I can say that can be tricky. It does depend on the designer if you are under them, because sometimes you may not be able to experiment. You may be filtering down the concepts of the designer. If you're okay with, if your objective is to just become technically sound, to understand the technical side of things, to understand the manufacturing side of things, to understand pricing side of things, it's fine. It can work quite well. However, if your objective is to explore your own unique design language, then it can or cannot work in your favor. I was lucky when I was with Amrapali. Amrapali is, I hope all of you are aware of Amrapali, the brand, first of all, because I'm a huge fan of the brand. They are based in Jaipur. They did the jewelry for the movie Troy. If you've not seen the movie, you should definitely see it. It's got Brad Pitt for the women in the room, if that is an incentive. And the jewelry is very unique, very loud, very out there. And this, I mean, you see the movie, you can look at it, especially the earrings are very, very Indian. But the way they've styled the whole look and feel of it, it's fantastic. So I was very lucky because they just told me that, we want one-of-a-kind pieces. And if you have seen the pieces before, or if you've seen this design before, then don't do it. And having a brief like that can be very liberating as a designer. As opposed to a designer telling that this is what has worked for us in the past, please follow this route. Then the options that you have to explore can be limited. If you are in a company which has a very strong manufacturing, okay, they have a very strong manufacturing, super, super strong artisans and craftsmen, and they're telling you that, we have all these fantastic traditional craftsmanship techniques, and we just want someone to come and give us a very unique design language, then definitely I think you will have more freedom and more option and to create something unique with a manufacturing team, which is truly skilled and which is open to new ideas. Yeah. I hope I answered that question for you. Anything else you would like to ask? All right. Now, the next question is, what is your strategy to stay competitive in the current market situation? Do we have the person in the room for this? All right, so this is going to be quick because this gets asked to me a lot. And in a nutshell, I would say I focus on three things, which is unique design and storytelling. Second is premium material quality and craftsmanship. And third is accessible pricing. So whatever we are creating, we're constantly checking, are we really ticking all the three boxes? So for me, it's the combination of these three that I keep in mind. And I believe this is what has helped us, at least so far, to stay ahead in the game. All right, so these were the questions that were given to me. But I'm open to any other questions that any of you may have at this point. I would, sorry.
I'm Kashish here. So I just
Kashish.
want to, yeah.
Hi,
So there are
Kashish.
like so many upcoming designers. Matlab, there are so many rising designers right now. So there's like a huge competition in the market,
Yeah.
right? So once you like get trained, you work as a trainee, and then you start your own career. You start designing. And don't you fear that your designs might get copied? Because social media is a very strong platform these days, and that's the only way I can market my products or my designs and gain the trust from the customer. So, even if I do that, the only thing I fear is what if they get copied? Or what if the people who are seeing might go to their trusted ones and be like, "Aisa kuch bana ke, matlab, just give me a similar product. Or can you make something like this?" Yeah.
Absolutely. And I will make no false promises here. And to give you a very realistic point of view, that 100% you're going to be copied, especially if your designs are good. There is no shying away from that. And for you, you should take it as, and of course, it's going to hurt you, especially in the beginning when you're starting off and you've put so much of effort into creating that. Of course, you're going to feel that this is so wrong. And it is wrong. There is no other way around it. But you cannot let that bring you down, because it's not about how many times you fall, it's how many times you get up after that. You should have the strength and conviction in yourself that I can create another strong concept. And frankly, from my experience, I see that it's designers who are not very confident on whether they will be able to create something new after this, that it starts affecting them more. If you are confident in your craft, and if you are confident, you know what, you can copy me once, twice, thrice, you can't copy me 10 times, you will be fine. So I'm letting you know ahead in time, you will be copied, but let that not bring you down. You should have the strength that I can create, and I can create newer pieces, and I will definitely have a market. One person, if you sell one design to 100 customers, and if 2 customers have gone to somebody else to kind of create a fake, forget about it. Focus on the 98. Focus on the ones that have come to you. Don't focus on the 2.
Right.
Yeah. Anything else? Can I take any other questions at this point? Let's hear from someone who's not asked any question till now.
Sure, Bhumika here. Ma'am,
Sorry?
This is Bhumika.
Bhumika, hi Bhumika.
Hello, ma'am. Ma'am, what exactly we should focus on to become a best designer?
Best designer. Okay. So best is a very subjective word. What may be best for me may not be best for you, and vice versa. You want to be the best version of yourself. When you are creating a design, it should truly be a personification of what you can do best as an artist. All of us are different, right? And I think especially in a creative sphere as an artist, our own personal experiences always end up showing in our work if you're truly doing it with our heart and soul into it. What is going to make you unique is your story, your personal experiences, your journey. So focus on doing justice to that. And as long as you are best and you are confident about what you're creating, you should not worry about the others. Will the market accept it? Will it going to be a sustainable business? That comes later. That is a completely different conversation to have, that, is this really a viable product? Because not every business has a market. So many businesses fail, right? But we have to give our best. That's all we can do. We cannot predict that whether we're going to be successful or not, or will the market accept us in the way we are hoping to be accepted or not. We can just give our best. And one thing I would tell you as design students especially is that there are so many jewelry design competitions that keep happening, especially in India. I want to know how many of you participated in the Artisans Jewellery Award. Show of hands. All right. Mridula, right? If I got your name correct. Any? Bhumika. Sorry, no, what did Mridula, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is there only one? All right. So fine, let's start now. There are so many design competitions that happen annually, and most of them are free. And the purpose of these design competitions is to identify, support, and encourage designers. I cannot tell you how important this is, and this is such a boon. So there is definitely the Artisans Jewellery Award, which is conducted in India by the JGEPC, which is the Gems and Jewelry Export Promotion Council. Look up the website, Artisan Awards. I think the next one, the due date should be coming up soon. Definitely participate in that. It is for you guys. Second is the Hrd Awards, which is an international awards that is also coming up soon. They are going to be releasing the date when they'll be taking up the applications, I think this week. Which else is there? These are the two that come to my mind. I think there was another design competition by Carrot Lane, which happened recently. So you should definitely participate in these design competitions, because number one, if you do get selected, shortlisted, or if you do end up getting, I actually started my career with a design competition. I remember when I was in NIFT, there was a design competition in my final year, which was by the World Gold Council. And I was one of the winners in that competition. It was called the auditions, gold auditions. And that's how I ended up meeting the directors of World Gold Council. That's how I landed my first job. And I made such important connections in the industry. And more than anything else, I think it gives you the confidence, more than anything else, that there is someone who is understanding what you're trying to say. And I think that's most important for a designer. Because if we don't get any, especially in the initial years, if we don't get that acceptance and the validation, we can start wondering, am I doing this as a hobby, or will this work for me long term? Is this really a business, or am I just scribbling designs? So that gives you a lot of confidence. So definitely, I think if there's one takeaway that you can take after this course is that this year, each one of you should participate at least in one design competition. And then we'll see where it goes. All right. Anything else? Otherwise, I will pick two people. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. How do you work on inspirational jewelry? Like when you say anything like expected with the nature, or maybe like that, like,
Okay.
thing.
So for me, like I spoke about earlier about the process in itself, I start with trends forecast, that what are the materials that is going to be in focus? Are there any new craftsmanship technique that is coming up? And then I look at my own experience as well. Example to give you. All right, so I'll talk about this one collection, which is my favorite. It's called A Walk Through Venice. It's on my website as well. And the trends that was forecasted for that time, and I think I released this in 2017, if I'm not mistaken, or 2018. I think it was 2018. And the trends that was forecasted was that the color blue is definitely going to be in focus. So a lot of sapphire and midnight hues. Travel is going to be in. So a lot of cultural references, etc. And so I always have these in mind. I always start working much ahead in time. And at the same time, I was traveling to Venice, and I took lots of pictures. I did a lot of sketching in my free time. And so my first sketches are very random. They will not look anything like jewelry. When you see my first sketches, you'll feel like they're just doodles. And like I said, I don't look at the practical or the technical side of it. And then later on, I refine it to make it more accessible as a product. And that's literally how it comes to me. But having said that, process is different for every designer. I don't think I have met another designer who has the same process as me. Maybe in terms of product, it will be similar. They'll start with the initial ideations, create the master sample, do the pricing, speak with multiple suppliers about the repeat pieces, the logistics, etc. But the first process is different to everyone. And I think it should be like that.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, super.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah.
You're welcome. Okay, so in the IIG South room, I think behind, so I'm picking up Guy, okay? I'm picking someone from you who's not answered anything till now. So in IIG South room, I think it's behind Kashish. Kashish, right? If I got your name right?
Yeah.
So the gentleman behind Kashish. Please don't tell me you don't have any question in jewelry design after, and like IIG South has like smashed it, taught you everything, no questions.
I am Keshav here.
Hi, Keshav.
Any ideas or suggestions for walk-in jewelry boutique?
For a walk-in jewelry boutique, any suggestions? I cannot stress this enough on a well-trained sales staff. If you have a fantastic product in your shop, but if your sales staff is not pleasant, welcoming, or does not know enough about the product, then how will the end customer know what was in the mind of the designer? So I personally feel that's something that brands should incorporate, a presentation by the design team to the sales staff before the product launches.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's it from my side, unless there are any other questions you have.
Neeta here. Hi.
Sorry, I didn't get your name.
Hi, ma'am. Neeta here.
Hi, Neeta. How are you?
I'm good, ma'am. What about you, ma'am?
All well. Thank you so much.
What type of jewelry says best in market, ma'am?
What? Sorry, I didn't get your question.
What type of jewelry says best in the market, ma'am?
What type of jewelry is being seen best in the jewelry right now? So what I have seen in the past few years, and I spoke about this briefly earlier as well, was that, and especially I think during the pandemic, personalized jewelry became very big. And I guess probably it was because people got a lot of time to spend with their families, and they really started valuing their life experiences and their personal relationships, that they wanted that in their jewelry. I mean, I have not experienced this huge request for personalization in jewelry as I have done in the last 2 years. Everybody wants some kind of charms. I'm wearing a charm necklace. So I am a living testimony that there is a huge rise for personalized jewelry. People want to have, even when they're gifting, they want to know if there is a possibility for engraving. It's not just, buy and gift. Or so that's why even storytelling is very important. What kind of techniques have you used? Why have you used certain kind of products? So I would say personalized jewelry is doing really well. Kinetic or multi-wear jewelry, pieces that are not just for occasions and have to be put inside the locker. And I think here this is a huge potential in bridal jewelry market. Right now, most of the jewelry, and especially if you ask the brides, or I would say not the current bride, maybe the last generation, especially our moms, the jewelry would be worn on the wedding day and then it would go in the locker, or it would come out only during special family events. I don't think today's bride wants that. She wants pieces that she can wear a lot more often. So multi-wear or kinetic jewelry, pieces that are transformable jewelry, which is also a nomenclature for it, is definitely very popular. So today's customer wants to wear her jewelry. She's not looking at jewelry as an investment that she buys it and then puts it in the locker and maybe 10 years later, 20 years later, the value of gold will appreciate and this will be an investment. That's not the mindset right now. It honestly is looked at as a fashion accessory or a premium fashion accessory, which is an expression of a style statement. So you want to keep that in mind. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, like you said that you worked here in India.
Yes.
And the way you talk now, it seems like this Indian jewelry fascinates you a lot.
Yes, it does.
Is there any professional reason why you didn't set up your career here in India?
I got married and I moved to Dubai. So I didn't have a choice. Otherwise, I would have loved to stay in India. I love Bombay. I love the spirit of Bombay. I love Jaipur for jewelry manufacturing. But yeah, life had other plans.
Clients, you also design Indian jewelry.
Sorry?
You also have Indian clients. You also design like Indian jewelry.
Yes, I do, but not the typical Indian jewelry. I think Indian manufacturers can do a far better job for the typical wedding jewelry. But the Indian clients that I have in Middle East are always coming to me for contemporary pieces, which still have Indian manufacturing techniques. I mean, they like Kundan, Polki, which is very limited here in the region, but they want it to be a little more commercial, or not commercial, contemporary. Something that they can wear a lot more often, which will go well with their Western outfits or with a gown, things like that. So that is, and of course, also in terms of, like you rightly said, there's so much of competition in India already. There's so many designers who are doing that already, that for me, it's good if I focus on a different market where this kind of technique is probably not as well seen. So it allows me to be a little more experimentative as well.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Also, like how do you grew up and develop and after you shift to Dubai? Like how did you? Can you share your experience there?
I would say my first challenge, the biggest challenge, I would say, and it's not just in Dubai, I think in any place of the world, when you go by yourself, your biggest challenge is going to be your network. You don't know anyone personally. It's very limited. It's just your very, very few people that you know. And professionally, it's an even bigger challenge, because a lot of times it depends on your market experience. Even when people are tying up with you, they want to know how much of experience you have in the market. So it was very new for me back then. I started my career in Dubai as a jewelry design faculty at GIA Dubai campus. That's how I started my career. And most of my suppliers and my clients that I ended up working with later on was through GIA. So definitely that's why I say that, and especially I would say when you're a new place, your work experience is crucial, and being associated with a good brand name, which is going to give you the right exposure, is crucial. So initially, I would say the biggest challenge for me was the network, not having not having any customer pool to start with, not knowing any marketing agency, not knowing any suppliers. It was honestly starting from scratch.
Okay.
All right. Can I have a question? Okay, we'll just wrap it up now in 10 minutes. So I'm going to move to different rooms. IIG-South Gemology has definitely been the most active room, I would say. Now moving on to IIG Jewellery room. And if I could have any questions from that room, someone who's probably not asked anything.
You choose this field.
Sorry?
Made you choose this field.
What made you choose? So I was always very creatively inclined, even as a kid. I'm a trained Bharatanatyam dancer. So anybody who's also a Bharatanatyam dancer in the room will know that the 9 jewelry pieces that the dancer wears are crucial to her costume. And literally that used to really fascinate me. And I did this collaboration for the New York Fashion Week runway in 2016, which was actually inspired by the headpieces that a Bharatanatyam dancer wears. But it's obviously it looks very different and very contemporary. It's transformable. The pieces open up, become brooches and pendants and different jewelry pieces. It was a fun assignment. But that's honestly where my interest for jewelry started. Of course, I never thought at that point that I'll become a jewelry designer. My background was science. I was especially very good in physics and maths. And it was when I gave my NIFT entrance examination. And in my counseling session, looking at my background, they told me that I would do better in product as opposed to fashion or apparel. And because that's a lot more niche. And in product, so I don't know if any of you have researched on NIFT, every center has a different specialization for accessory design. And I was in NIFT Gandhinagar, which is a jewelry specialization. So I did my first year of my foundation in Chennai, NIFT Chennai. And then I moved to jewelry specialization in NIFT Gandhinagar. And then 3 years I did jewelry specialization. And literally that's how it started. And as luck might have it, all my internships were with jewelry companies. And that just got me more excited about the product. And I saw how much of potential it had. And personally, I really like working with different mechanisms in a jewelry piece. That's what excited me. It was not something that a lot of people were doing at that point. And luckily, I also got very strong mentors who also had a product or a technical background. And that's what got me excited. And to date, most of my pieces are multi-purpose, multi-wear. They deconstruct. They're earrings, which can be worn in 4 ways, necklaces that open up into bracelets. And I really find joy in innovating. Anything else? Did I answer your question?
Hi, ma'am.
Hello.
How to satisfy the customer to your own design, like
How to satisfy the customer with your design?
with your own designs.
Don't put that expectation on your mind, I would say, unless your focus was to create for this particular customer. Then it's different. If a customer came to you and she gave you a very strict brief that this is the brief I'm looking at, this is the look I'm going on, then, and if you have accepted that job, if you've accepted that project, then obviously it's your responsibility as a designer to make sure that she is satisfied with the end result. But what I have observed usually is that the more clear and the more information that you can get from a customer, the easier your job would be. So let somebody not come to you and tell you that create something unique, create something different, because that can mean so many different things. It really helps in maybe getting a color preference chart from her, or, and you can have different processes on finding that. You can create a mood board with different images. It doesn't have to be jewelry images. It can be any artworks, and ask her what are the 4 or 5 pieces that resonate with it. Honestly, it kind of works like psychology also to a certain extent into knowing your customer. And then how can you filter it down to an actual product? So this is the path that you could take if the customer has come to you, because here it is your responsibility to make sure that she likes it. Or if the customer has come to you and asked you to create something which is unique for you as a designer, then in your contract, it should be clearly specified that I'm going to do my best as a designer to create a product in this brief, which you may or may not like. Irrespective of your liking at the end or not, the design fee is for these hours. So you have to have that contract in place. Otherwise, you will be just designing for 2 to 3 months and there will not be the end to the project. So having a strong legal contract, irrespective of whether it is an individual coming to you or a company coming to you, it's very important, and make it as crystal clear as possible with as many, I would say, details as possibly you can put in it, including time frame, including number of modifications that can be done. But always make sure that you're letting them know that at the end, it is your artwork and you are going to try your best to address their queries. But if they are not okay with it in the end, that is a risk they are okay to take. All right.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi, Vinita. There is a question from one of our participants.
Okay.
Please tell us how the Bollywood celebrity wedding happened in year 21-22, changed the jewelry design and customer demands.
Okay, so I'm not there in the market right now, and so it would be a very high level approach from my side. But what I can see is that with all the weddings, Bollywood weddings that is happening, in terms of jewelry, I have definitely seen that there is a huge popularity of Kundan Polki jewelry. And people, again, like I spoke about the Indian craftsmanship techniques, and I know Sabyasachi is doing such a fantastic job with bringing Kundan back. And that's not a new technique. It's such an old technique. But the way the styling is done and the way it is projected, there's definitely a huge demand that's coming back for it.
Yeah.
Anything else? All right. I hope I've answered all your questions. It was such a great experience to be with every one of you. All right. I see Thomas's question here in the direct message as well. I hope I answered your question, Thomas. All right, super. It was lovely speaking to all of you. I wish you all the very best. I would like to end by saying that jewelry is such a fantastic space. And I think there's so much more that we can do, and the onus definitely lies with us as creatives and as designers. So all the best to all of you. I hope, and I can't wait to see what you all come up with. I've got a few names here, and I'll be looking out for you in the coming years. And if you ever need any assistance or anything, feel free to send me a direct message on Instagram. Most of the time, it's me who's handling it. Otherwise, the questions definitely do come to me by my team as well. So feel free to always reach out, and I'll do my best at every point. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All the very best to all.
Thank you.
Bye.
It was very pleasure.
I hope it was helpful to all of you. Is Ashwin here in the room?
Yes.
Hi, Ashwin. So can I log out? Do you have any question? Did you have anything to say?
No, absolutely. You come here to Bangalore, in fact.
Definitely. Maybe soon.
Yes.
All right. Take care of you. Good luck.
Bye now. Thank you.